You know the prices, you know when they're gonna come out. AMD's latest event is nothing but short of amazing. However, it did leave me with more questions than answers. Please note, these are all speculation. Guessing can be fun. First, unlike Ryzen 5000, there will be no 7800X CPU. Instead, for Ryzen 7 CPUs, there will be a Ryzen 7 7700X at launch. The 7700X is 8 cores and 16 threads, similar to the 5700X and 5800X, but with a much higher base clock and boost clock. AMD may be reserving the 7800X for the 7800X 3D. As of now, because of the 3dB cache, the 1500X 3D is the fastest single-core CPU. Continuing with that success, a 7800X 3D may be AMD's hidden ace against Intel's upcoming 13th gen CPUs. I am sure people like to see a battle between a 7800X 3D and the upcoming 3900K, which brings us to the second point. There's no sign that AMD used 3dB cache on Ryzen 7000. This probably makes sense because stepping on 3dB cache will definitely drive the prices of these CPUs. You may get faster CPUs, but if the take-up rate for these CPUs are low, it does not make sense for AMD from both a manufacturing as well as a financial standpoint. That said, however, even without a 3dB cache, AMD demonstrates that a 7600X is 5% faster than a 12900K. Wow, a mid-tier 6-core CPU that's faster than 16 cores? Damn, the performance and IPC uplift on Zen 4 must be really working its magic. I do not know how until I get my hands on a 7600X. Alright, third point, the 7600X, which we all know is going to serve as a spiritual successor to the 5600X, does not come with an inbox stock cooler, which makes me wonder, can you cool a 7600X with a Rift cell? What is the minimum cooling you will need for this CPU? For air, I am looking at the R1 Universal, and for water, a 240mm AIO. If I'm correct, there's an additional $100+ for CPU cooling. A mid-tier user, for example a gamer, will have to set aside more money for CPU cooling or increase his budget. But a plus point, you can reuse your AM4 coolers on the new AM5 motherboards. I hope we do not face any band pin situations like those from Intel's LGA 1700 motherboards. Talking about money, of course, we have to address the prices of these new CPUs. I'm going to give particular attention to the 7600X and the 7900X. At launch, the 7600X is USD 299, the 5900X is USD 549. When they arrive at Singapore shores, the 76 may retail at 340 to 360 Singapore dollars. The 79 will be more than Singapore $800. The 79 costs less than the 59 at launch, which is great for content creators who want to take advantage of the higher IPC and the higher clock speed. It is not just the CPUs. With Ryzen 7000, you will need to spend money on new AM5 motherboards as well as DDR5 RAM kits. Both of these PC parts will make a dent in your wallet, especially for those in the mid-range. I'm now at an impasse, AM5 or DDR5? As of today, you and I know that there are 4 different chipsets and they are very confusing. The new chipset names are really quite a mouthful. I'm just going to say X6E, X6, B6E and B6 from here. X6E, as the flagship of the 4 classes, will get the best from everything Zen 4. Large 22-phase power of overclocking, multiple Gen 5 M.2 slots, and multiple full-length PCIe 5.0 slots. The boards are also fully feature-packed, very thick and very heavy. For X6, motherboard manufacturers like Asus and MSI can decide how many Gen 5 slots they want to feature. However, they can only feature Gen 5 slots on the M.2 and not the PCIe. Details online are still a bit fuzzy for this one. The chipsets I care for more are the B6 and B6E. No concrete details so far on this supposed mid-range. I think we'll know more closer to the October launch. I foresee a small issue here. Okay, maybe a medium one. How does an X6 compare to a B6E? If the lines between these two chipsets are blurred, does it make sense to buy a B6E over an X6? Motherboard manufacturers may have a tough nut to crack for this one, and distributors will have a harder job to decide which boards to promote. As mentioned earlier, it may be more difficult for the mid-range B6 segment, but let's not overthink until the boards actually come out. And let's carry on to the next pressing issue, DDR5 RAM. The big issue here is price over performance. With 3600MHz RAM being the sweet spot for most users in the previous generation, some experts say that 6000MHz RAM will be the sweet spot for Ryzen 7000. As of today, a 32GB 4800MHz RAM costs more than 300 Singapore dollars, and the sweet spot 6000MHz RAM costs more than 400 Singapore dollars. If these prices do not drop during, or more importantly, after 7K's launch, it'll be very hard for users to adopt these new CPUs. But if people do, we will be looking at a new norm. No more mid-range per se, but a new high mid-range of users. To be honest, because of the high latencies on DDR5, the performance upgrade over DDR4 isn't that much. And if you wanted more RAM, like 64 gigs, you will not be able to get 6000 MHz if you were to use 4 sticks of RAM. But on a positive note, AMD did review their AMD Expo. It's AMD's version of Intel XMP, which allows you to one-click overclock RAM. As of now, some brands like MSI use Intel XMP. Other brands like ASUS have this thing called DOCP. With Expo, AMD plans to unify all board brands with one overclocking system. RAM companies such as GSQ have just reviewed some RAM kits specifically made for AM5 motherboards. However, does this carry on to the existing DDR5 RAM kits? Will it be simple, just like a BIOS update, a patch download, or you actually have to spend money to buy these new RAM kits? We will not know until these new RAM kits and Ryzen 7000 comes out. If you're stayed until this point, are you still going to buy Ryzen 7000? I mean, ultimately, it's your choice, it's your money. Are you going to be an early adopter, or are you going to wait a few weeks, a few months, or even next year to see if Ryzen 7000 is suitable? It's sort of like a no-choice situation. You will have to think into your wallet to buy a new CPU, a new motherboard, DDR5 RAM, perhaps a new cooler for everything Ryzen 7000. With current DDR5 prices and rumored high prices on these new AM5 motherboards, I'm not so sure, but it's still your choice. And for the very crucial mid-range B6 and B6E segment, let's not overthink, but if prices for these two motherboards are not as great, maybe we have to wait a bit longer to see if you should actually enter Ryzen 7000. And with that, if you like my thoughts on Ryzen 7000, make sure to smash the like button. Write down in the comments if you are going to buy Ryzen 7000, if you're going to invest in AM5. So thank you all, bye.